Okay, just setting up the live stream. Shouldn't take long, hopefully. Okay, let's get this show on the road. So first things first, we're going to, I'll do a bit of a briefing, we're going to fly the Britten Norman turbine Defender from Casco Cove. So the last leg we did took us over from the coast of Japan over towards Casco Cove, as you can see on Adak Island, which is the first of the near islands that you can reach easily across the ocean. So then we're going to fly today across to Nikolski, which, if we zoom in, is part of the Fox Islands. So along the way we will be passing over the Rat Islands and the Andrianov Islands. It should be good fun. I'll be doing most of it on autopilot, just checking the volume levels there. I'll be doing most of it on autopilot, so I won't be around for all of it, but I'll leave a message up on the screen telling you that I'll be back in time for landing. So first things first, in the aeroplane we need to go and put some fuel in it. So we're going to fill it up. So we'll put the drop tanks on as well. Oh, actually, yeah, that's interesting, look. So this is going without the drop tanks. So if we put drop tanks on it as well, so if we go and jump inside the aeroplane briefly, and within this aeroplane we should get an add-on here somewhere. FSLTL, Airshow Assistant, where is it? Interesting. Have they changed this? Ah, yes, they've put a tablet in the aeroplane, by the look of it. Interesting, this is new. So presumably this won't come on until we have power in the aeroplane, or I'm guessing. Fascinating. Okay, so let's go and work through starting the airplane up at least then. So Control 7 will take us down here. We're going to put the batteries. Yeah, we get the tablet with the batteries. That's good to know. And we'll put the external power supply on. And we can put the drop tanks on. Interesting. So there we go, drop tanks. And we don't need anything else. So we've got no covers on anything, which is good. So let's go and have a look at that outside. We've got the drop tanks now. And we'll go and see if we can put some more fuel in the aeroplane. So, yay, we can fill it right up to the top. So that's obviously giving us over the limit of how much we can carry. We're going to pretend we've got a full complement of passengers, which will be good fun. We're only going to be flying about 5,000 feet all the way, so shouldn't be too difficult. So we put all the fuel in. Okay, so we've removed all of the bits and pieces inside the aeroplane. Put the tablet back away. Okay, that means I need to update my checklist. Now there's an EFB. I need to go and do that a bit later on. So we've done the battery and the external power. Then we go overhead and we make sure the fuel crocks are pointing forwards. And they are. And then back in the cockpit we're going to go and calibrate the altimeter. And the directional gyros. And we're going to go through and prepare the engines for start. So we're going to go and put the beacon light on. So we've got the lights down here. So beacon light goes to on. And we're going to start the right engine. So right fuel pump switches over here. We're going to go and put... We only need the main one. We don't need the back one. The backup one. So then Control 7 comes back down. And the right igniter switch to on or up. Then uncover the start switch and start to the right. And then we can keep an eye on the gauges, and we're looking for the RPM to come through 20%. And as it does so, we will advance the right RPM or red lever to min. So it's coming up to 20%. And then we're looking for the annunciators to go out for the right low speed and RGen. And there they go. So then control 7 and RGen can go up or on. So I'm just looking it's over here, isn't it? Okay, then control 8 will take us back overhead. We go and put the main pump on for the left side, and then we come back down and left igniters go to on. So I'm just trying to remember where things are. So left igniters go to on, uncover the start switch, it's already uncovered, and go for left start. Then we can press control 5, we can watch the RPM come up, we can watch this from outside as well. So you'll see the engine will start to spin gently. He says, famous last words. So it comes up through 20%. And there goes the propeller. So again, we're looking for the low speed and LGen to go out, and then we can go and switch on the left generator. There we go, and left generator. So post engine start, control 7, go and turn the external power to off now. And nav lighting can come on, so that's that one. GPS, we can go and sort out our route. I think we've already got it, so it's going to look, yeah, we've already got it programmed in because I put it in the world map screen in the simulator. So our route is ready to go. And we can configure the CDI mode. Yes, we're in GPS mode, which is absolutely fine. And we might want to set course or radio, comm modes, navigation. We don't need to, we're just going to be using GPS today and keeping it simple. Okay, so we are essentially ready to taxi out to the runway. So Vladimir in the live stream comments is asking, how did you find this add-on? Is it a proper simulation? It's made by a company called Black Box Simulations. You can find them on the internet. And they make several aircraft with flight simulators. Some of them are available in the marketplace as well. So if you go and do a Google search for Black Box Simulations, you'll find them. Okay, so let's go and put the head tracking on. Oh, I need to go and change my control profile over to a 2-engine aircraft, otherwise we'll have fun and games with it. I don't know if I've got a black box or Britten Norman Islander setup in here. We're about to find out. Ah, I've got an Islander. That'll be the one. Apply. Go back, resume. Okay, so let's go and come off the parking brake, and we'll have a look on the ground. So we need to double back for the wind, so we're going to do a backtrack along the runway. So we'll do an immediate right turn. So there's the runway. Should we go and put the weather radar on as well while we're at it? Go for takeoff flaps. So now we're out on the runway, we could go and put the landing lights on. there's a pitot and stall warning down here somewhere. I'll have a look in a moment. I haven't got time to look at the moment. It's in the ice protection section, isn't it? I guess they give you plenty of room here to turn around. Okay, parking brake on. Pitot and stall warning heaters. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. So we go and move the RPM levers, or fuel condition levers really, to max. Get off the parking brake. We'll be looking to rotate at about 55 knots. Go a bit faster than that because I'm heavy, and I know I'm heavy. There we go, we're in the air. We are at maximum weight really. But we'll be burning most of that off along the way in terms of fuel. So obviously you can't retract the gear on this aeroplane. Okay, so it looks like sparse landscape out here, but that's because it is. But again, you can see there are areas where it doesn't have good detail. So let's go and turn around towards our route and increase the range on the navigation display on the GPS. And we'll pull the aeroplane round and get the autopilot sorted out in a moment. Trying to sort out the altitude pre-selector, but I'll wait until we're sorted out en route. So someone's asking in the live stream comments about LittleNavMap and about loading the scenery. You only need to load the scenery when you've made a change to it. So if you've put something new in your community folder, or you've done a Navigraph update. Although I think it will pull in Navigraph updates live actually, because in the Navigraph manager it updates LittleNavMap. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off the head tracking for a moment, and we'll pull the RPM back in a moment. I'm just going to take our target altitude up to 5,000. There we go, you can see it there. So if we go, what are we doing? So heading, put the heading bug on the direction we're going, go for heading mode initially, and then autopilot on, and then vertical speed mode, and we'll give ourselves 1,000 feet per minute to get to our target altitude. So you can see the vertical speed's hovering there around 1,000 feet a minute. We'll keep an eye on the indicated airspeed, and we'll get the power and the RPM under control. So let's go for 90% torque. I say 90%. It's 900 foot-pounds of torque. Although it looks convenient that it goes up to 10 and you might think it's percentages, it's not. Okay, so we're closing in on the direction. Although looking at this, the CDI mode has changed, look. So let's go do that. We're right on the course, so we'll go to nav mode and let the autopilot bring us round. We don't need to worry about mixture as we come to 3,000 feet because we're in a turboprop. Landing lights can come off. Although saying that, we are kind of commercial traffic, aren't we? We're carrying passengers potentially, so we ought to keep them on below 10,000 feet. Okay, so let's just have a quick check around. Flaps are up. The generators are on. There's no warnings showing anywhere. Power's looking good. Aeroplane's just banking left to get the course. Everything's looking okay. We haven't got the strobes on. We should have put the strobes on. Don't need cabin lights. It's lovely, a lovely morning. Very bright out there, enough to blind us. Okay, so we're climbing out to 5,000 feet, which should be just above the cloud layer by the look of it. So you can see there's our course on LittleNavMap with it drawing it. Going out towards our first waypoint, which is the Vortex Station. Shemya, at Shemya Island. Okay, we've just hit 5,000 feet, so to avoid going through a lot of this cloud, I'm going to take us up to 7.5. So let's go and change that altitude selection, so you can see the number changing here. And we'll go vertical speed to get there. We could use indicated airspeed mode as well. So we've got 500 feet a minute at the moment. We can take that up to 1,000 without too many problems. I just want to get above the cloud. Someone's asking, am I in ghost mode today? I kind of am. I'll go and turn the data back on. I was trying to review an aeroplane last week, and no matter what I did, somebody kept jumping in front of the camera all the time, which kind of destroyed any attempt to record anything. So I ended up switching everything back off. So I'm on Southeast Asia. I don't really mind today, but if we do get somebody trying to fly in front of the camera the whole time, you are just embarrassing yourself if you do it. Okay, so, we're going to need to go and run Volanta, don't we? Keep forgetting to start this for these round the world trips. I've been recording them with Volanta along the way, and of course it's updating itself. Of course it is. Every time I load either Volanta or Navigraph, they run updates. Every single time. So there's it's got the wrong aeroplane picture, which is not unusual, because it's got the code of Defender. So that's a bit of a falling down on the part of Volanta. So we go to flight plan, copy it to the clipboard, add a flight plan, enter the text route, paste it in, just delete that bit because it doesn't mean anything to Volanta. And we should be able to click this and follow flight, and we'll find ourselves down here. And there we are. About to go between. Let's go and accept anybody who wants to be friends with me on Volanta. Should we see if we can fix this picture? I think we have to do it from over here. Aircraft. Defender. Upload image. That's better. Flight number. This is around the world. Oh, I just say W, don't I? 17. And there we go. So we'll also go window, open window layout, minimal, stick this up in the corner of the screen. We'll go and take the taskbar off. Put this up here so people can see how far along the route we are. It's a bit cloudy, isn't it? And we can see other people coming into shop. I may go and turn the labels off though, otherwise you can get people with sweary usernames, which is not the best look. Okay, let's go and see how we're doing for indicated airspeed. So we're right on the border of, so I'm going a little bit fast. Let's pull it back to 800 foot-pounds of torque. So the propellers run themselves in this aircraft. You don't actually control them. So they run at 100%. Gas producer is fine, fuel flow is good. It's looking okay. Now there are various places we can stop along the route, so we'll do fuel checks along the way, but for the most part I'm going to let the aeroplane just fly itself and get through this part of the journey. So if you are planning on following along, there's not going to be much to see today, I'm afraid. This is very much a getting the job done flight. As soon as we get to Nikolski, it gets a bit more interesting because you're flying along up towards Adak Island and you're over land, and you know there's lots of features and towns to see. But for this part of the route, I've got live weather on, so if you're wondering why we're seeing all of the cloud, sorry, that'll be why. Okay, so I'm going to go and choke to death in the background, and we'll see how we go. So I'll leave it there. Actually, should we put the view alongside the aeroplane? And we'll maybe make this a bit bigger so people can see where we are along the way. It's a shame, isn't it, that you can't get this to play ball a little bit more than it is working. But there we go, that kind of works, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to cut my microphone off for a bit. I'm going to go and make a cup of tea, and I'll come in when we get near to any islands to have a talk about along the way. Okay, so I'll see you all again later on. So, should we have a look and see how we're doing on fuel? I will admit I am not... So we've got fuel flow here. I'm not the most up to speed with some of these aeroplanes or where everything is, because I change aeroplanes so often in the simulator. I mentioned this the other day, jack of all trades, master of none. So fuel quantities up ahead. And we are still using the tanks at the moment, I think. So we've consumed 71 so far. I have no doubt that we have got far more than we need. We'll look at the outside temperature though, it's just above 0. We've got to keep an eye on any ice forming. This is why I was wanted to be above the clouds, so yeah, there's no ice on the boots, which is good. So as long as we stay above the cloud, we shouldn't get any problems with icing. So yeah, there does appear to be a bug, doesn't there, with the altimeter in the BN2T even. This is the Defender variant. So you can see it there on LittleNavMap. It's showing indicated altitude is 7,500. The actual altitude above sea level is 7,300. It's 200 feet out for some reason. Interesting. So it's interesting as well actually to have a look around. So looking at the fuel gauges, do we get... I'm guessing this is the drop tanks on each side. Now why is one side using more than the other? And this, of course, I've got... Are the throttles exactly the same position as each other? No. There's ever so slightly more power on the right hand side. This is the problem if you don't have a spinny pressure sensor between the two engines. You know, the vacuum sensor that you sometimes see. You can't... And there's... I don't think it's... Has this got prop sync? I'm not sure that it does. So that's down to me. Look, we've got ever so slightly more power being generated on... Right, so let's go and just tweak it a tiny bit. Gone too much now. If I run it a bit less for a while, trouble is it's going to yaw the aeroplane as well, which will make us less efficient through the air. So we just run the right engine a little bit less and let it catch up on fuel use. Oh no, it's the other way around. I've used more. That makes no sense. I've used more on the left tank than the right. Can we transfer between them? Has it? I don't think it's got transfer pumps, has it? So we'll just run the left engine a little bit less, with a little bit less power than the right engine. So meaning the right engine should catch up eventually in terms of fuel usage. On my analog altimeter, what is the Coleman window saying? About 30.24, 23 maybe, is current barometric pressure in inches. Obviously it's less accurate in hectopascals, but it's, yeah, 10, somewhere just above 1024 probably. So if I zoom right into this so you can see it in extreme detail, so let's go and level this up with the instrument. There you can see what I can see. So I'm not at 30.27. I haven't calibrated it again though, since I took off. So if I was to press B again now, it will obviously calibrate for where I am. So let's press B. No, it's 30.30, 1026 hectopascals. That's my current barometric pressure. We could solve this for everybody, couldn't we? Should we climb up to 10,000 feet? So let's go and set the target for the altimeter. Although we're probably going to get up to icing conditions, but we'll see what happens. If we get to 10,000, then... Although actually no, we're in American airspace, doesn't make a difference, does it? Forget what I just said. I was thinking, I was flying in Australia recently and it's 10,000 feet a lot of the time around there. It's 18,000 for standard barometric pressure in the US, isn't it? So that'll do us no good whatsoever. Yeah, I think this might be... So I've got 7,500 feet on 2978. That's interesting. So when I pressed B, this didn't correct itself. So maybe this is broken. So if we only go by this... Yeah, so this doesn't agree with this. That's quite amusing. I know it shouldn't be, but I think it is. It may be on purpose. I wonder if there's something I've missed in the configuration of the aeroplane. Just looking around to see what I could have messed up. So the pitot heaters are on. If it's only that many degrees outside, we ought to put the heating on in the cabin, I suppose. Oh, is it not implemented? Oh dear, that's a shame. They're going to get cold then, aren't they? Better put a coat on. Oh, you got your coat on. Good. You might want to do it up. Yeah, so this new electronic gauge appears to be a little bit broken, which is a bit of a shame. Oh well. How are we doing in terms of the route? Let's go and have a look. Coming over to the Cheeky waypoint. And looking on the map, we're about to pass over Kiska Island. So what can we find out about Kiska Island if we go and search? I've got too many computers in front of me, it's getting a bit loud. Kiska is one of the Rat Islands, a group of the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. 22 miles long, varies in width from 1.5 to 6 miles. Special permission is required to visit. The island has no permanent population. So if we go and put our view out here, we should see it underneath the cloud sometime soon. let's go and move this out of the way. And we'll put this over this side so we can see the island coming. Oh, you can see it just over here, look. It's just poking through the clouds. So, as I was saying, European discovery in 1741. In 1741, while returning from his second voyage at sea during the Great Northern Expedition, Danish-born Russian explorer Vitus Bering made the first European discovery of most of the Aleutian Islands, including Kiska. Georg Wilhelm Steller, a naturalist physician aboard Bering's ship, wrote, "On the 25th of October 1741, we had very clear weather and sunshine, but even so it hailed at various times in the afternoon. We were surprised in the morning to discover a large, tall island at 51 degrees to the north of us." So prior to European contact, Kiska Island had been densely populated by native peoples for thousands of years. So Kiska and the other rat islands were reached by independent Russian traders in the 1750s. After the initial exploitation of the sea otter population, Russians rarely visited the island as interest shifted further east. Years would frequently pass without a single ship landing. Starting in 1775, Kiska, the Aleutian Islands and mainland Alaska became fur trading outposts for the Russian-American company managed by Grigory Shalakov. In 1867, US Secretary of State William H. Seward negotiated the purchase of Alaska with the Russian Empire. Kiska was included in the purchase. Good. I'm going to turn the aeroplane down a bit. Use the mouse on the right screen. The right mouse on the right screen. It's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? There we go. So, during the Second World War, the Japanese No. 3 Special Landing Party and 500 Marines went ashore at Kiska on June the 6th. As a separate campaign concurrent with the Japanese plan for the Battle of Midway. The Japanese captured the sole inhabitants of the island, a small US Navy weather detachment consisting of 10 men, including a lieutenant along with their dog. The next day the Japanese captured Attu Island. So the military importance of its frozen, difficult-to-spy island was questionable. Should we go and have the view of it as we go by? But the psychological impact on the Americans of losing US soil to a foreign enemy for the first time since the War of 1812 was tangible. During the winter of 1942-43, the Japanese reinforced and fortified the islands. Not necessarily to prepare for an island hopping operation across the Aleutians, but to prevent a US operation across the Kuril Islands. The US Navy began operations to deny Kiska supply, which would lead to the Battle of Komandorski Islands. During October 1942, American forces undertook several bombing missions over Kiska, where 2 were aborted due to weather. Following the winter, Attu was recaptured and bombing of Kiska resumed until a larger American force was allocated to defeat the expected Japanese garrison of 5,200 men. The Japanese, aware of the loss of Attu and the impending arrival of a larger Allied force, successfully removed their troops on July the 28th under the cover of fog. This is an interesting story. On August 15th, 1943, an invasion force consisting of 34,000 Allied troops, including elements of the US 7th Infantry Division, 4th Infantry Regiment, 87th Mountain Infantry Regiment, and 5,300 Canadians, mainly from the 13th Infantry Brigade, with supporting units including 2 artillery units from the 7th US Infantry Division and 95 ships, including 3 battleships and a heavy cruiser, and 168 aircraft landed on Kiska, only to find the island completely abandoned. Despite the lack of Japanese presence, Allied casualties during the invasion numbered close to 200, either from the bad weather, Japanese booby traps or friendly fire. As a result of a brief friendly fire engagement between the US and Canadian forces, 28 Americans and 4 Canadians died. There were an additional 130 casualties from trench foot. The destroyer USS Abner Reed hit a mine, resulting in 87 casualties. That night, the Imperial Japanese Navy warships, thinking they were engaged by Americans, shelled and attempted to torpedo the island of Little Kiska, where the Japanese soldiers were waiting to embark. So in 1985, the Japanese occupation site on the island was designated a National Historic Landmark and part of Aleutian Island's World War II National Monument. The island is also part of the Alaska Maritime National Wildlife Refuge and contains the largest colony of least auklets, over 1 million birds, and crested auklets. So research biologists from the Memorial University of Newfoundland have been studying the impact of introduced Norway rats on the seabirds of Kiska since 2001. Much of the aftermath of World War II is still evident in Kiska. The slow erosion processes on the tundra have had little effect on the bomb craters still visible both from the ground and in satellite images on the hills surrounding the harbour. Numerous equipment dumps, tunnels, Japanese gun emplacements, shipwrecks and other war relics can be found, all untouched since 1943. That's interesting, isn't it? In September 1989, divers from the United States Navy rescue and salvage ship USS Safeguard surveyed the wreck of the Imperial Japanese Navy submarine RO-65, which sank in the harbour at Kiska with the loss of 19 lives in November 1942. On August 22, 2007, the submarine USS Grunion, which disappeared with a crew of 70 during World War II, was found in 1,000 metres of water off of Kiska. Unexploded ammunition is scattered across the landscape of Kiska. This is interesting. Renamed Skira, the island was used as the setting for the Codemasters video game Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising. The fictionalized version of the island is relocated closer to Russia and China, but the island's topography is replicated nearly exactly, with elements of the game designed around it instead of vice versa. So anybody who's played Operation Flashpoint, you've seen these islands. So at the far end there you can see a volcano. It's out of our range across there. So Kiska Volcano is an active stratovolcano located on the northern end of Kiska Island. In January 1962, an explosive eruption occurred, accompanied by lava extrusion and the construction of a cylinder cone about 98 feet high at Sirius Point on the north flank of Kiska volcano. A second eruption produced a lava flow that was reported to have occurred on March the 18th, 1964. Since then, the volcano has emitted steam and ash plumes as well as smaller lava flows. There you go. Everything, I've just read basically the entire Wikipedia page on Kiska to you. And we're off on our way, and you can see we've got little, let me make this bigger, Little Sitkin Islands. I think a lot of these islands are completely uninhabited, so you can see it just coming through the, so the one we can see coming is Sagula Island. Let's put this down here, out of the way, so we can actually see the landscape coming. So what can we find out about Sagula Island? I'm going to be the master at pub quizzes if any of these islands come up, aren't I? So the only thing on Sagula Island is a colony of auklets. And it's essentially a volcano. There is not much else to it. Snows from October to May off and on Sagula Island. So the next island after this will be Little Sitkin Island. That will fly straight over the top of, so let's go and see what we can find out about Little Sitkin. Volcanic island in the Rat Island archipelago on the western Aleutian Islands in Alaska, 3 miles east of Davidoff Island. Great Sitkin Island, which is essentially the same size as Little Sitkin, lies 185 miles further east in the Andreoff Islands. So there's Little Sitkin, so that must be Semisopochnoi. Yeah, there's another island further across. Tanaga Island, Adak Island, Adak Island, and Nikolski, which is where we're headed. Interesting. Okay, so let's have a look at this one then. Roughly circular, about 6 miles in diameter. We're talking about Little Sitkin there. The interior is extremely rugged and mountainous, only the lower slopes are grass covered. There are 2 prominent peaks, one at 3,898 feet in the northeast part of the island and the other at 1,960 feet in the southern part. There are numerous streams on the island, but no lakes or ponds. Let's have a zoom in on it, have a look at it. You can see it coming, look. Why do we... oh, there we go, there's the contours. So Little Sitkin is a stratovolcano that erupted in 1776, 1828 and 1900. The 1776 eruption shows signs of being explosive. The volcano has had 3 cone building episodes separated by the formation of 2 calderas. A summit crater caps the youngest cone, about 3 miles in diameter at the base. Yeah, this obviously it's uninhabited, but it's, there's that caldera, look, just there. Which we should see in a moment in the sim as we fly over, if the cloud doesn't get in the way. So Jim says hello. Hi Jim. So let's go and just rearranging my desk while I'm doing this. Too many things plugged in at the moment. 2 laptops here, 2 Raspberry Pis, both with keyboards, a spare controller, 2 pairs of glasses, 3 mice. I keep picking the wrong one. Have I ever thought about a webcam? I've got one plugged in, but I'm not really sure people want to see my face on the stream. It seems a bit silly. The subject matter is the aeroplanes and what we're flying over. Is not seeing me in the corner of the stream. I mean, it's straightforward enough to do. You just add the webcam here. Look, if I went and switched it on, I'd have to come down to here, and then you get to see me. So it's straightforward to do. I spend most of my week on Teams calls, or not most of the time. Last week I've been head down working on software development for something enormously complicated, which is why I've only done the odd 20-minute video with the flying iron warbirds. But yeah, it's I spend a lot of my time at work on webcams in meetings, so I'm quite glad to let the aeroplanes be the centre of attention on the channel. I don't understand these people who have to appear in the corner of their screen. I guess it's each to their own. Let's put it that way. Right, let's put this back across the top of the screen so we can see this route actually lends itself, doesn't it, to what's the blue line that's appeared? Oh, is that? Interesting. Is that a rendering bug? I think it might be. Yeah, it is. Look, we've discovered a rendering bug. So the reason for the long route today is purely to get between Atu and Nikolski. just to do it in one go. And then we'll be working our way up. Now, obviously there's a lot more to look at once we get to Nikolski, but this is really just islands along the way, so we're just getting it over with. Should we go and have a look and see how we're doing on the fuel? So they've almost caught up with each other on the tanks. Remember, we're running the left engine a little less, with a little less power on purpose. For some reason we're burning more fuel on the right side, or we were burning more fuel on the right side. That's our little aeroplane chugging along. We zoom out on here, we can see 50 miles to the next waypoint. We can customize the fields on the, this is the PMS GTN 750. We can customize it, can't we? So if we go to menu, change fields, and we'll say we'll get rid of the track one. Can we get the estimated time to the arrival? What about estimated time en route? Estimated time to waypoint to destination. There we go. And back. It can't do it. It's too long for it to show. Maybe that means 2 hours. We'll leave it up there anyway and see what it changes to as we go along. So the airplane seems happy enough, just chugging along. The needles are all in good places. I don't like that the propellers thrash themselves to pieces on this thing, but it's automatically controlled, you can't do anything about it. So gas producing is good, fuel flow is good. The temperatures and pressures are good. And of course we are on the GPS track, which is helping. So we zoom out a bit further. You can see the route. So next waypoint is 44 miles out in front of us. And I'll leave it like that for the moment. Right, I'm going to go and make a drink. I'll be back a bit later on. I have a question to answer from Mr. Bullseye. Do you prefer the PMS or the TDS? I have got both. So full disclosure, TDS gave me a license for their version to do a review of it. I was quite cutting, I guess. Well, they weren't very impressed with me. The first time I looked at the TDS was before it had Navigraph integration. And it's, if you're not aware, the TDS GTN XI, it is the Garmin unit. It's the Garmin training software, but they've shoehorned it into the simulator, which is no small mean feat. So what you see on the screen in the simulator is actually the Garmin training unit. So it's identical to the real thing. Then subsequently to that, and you know, there's no holds barred, it's much better than the PMS, but obviously it costs money, whereas the PMS is a free option. Then subsequently TDS put a ton of work in, and they integrated with Navigraph, and it changed the game completely for the TDS GTN XI, and it's just it's in a world of its own, you know, better than the PMS. But having said that, PMS has a free option. But I know several people who fly aeroplanes in the real world and they use or have used the TDS GTN XI in preparation for tests, real world instrument tests where they had to go and know their way around it, and they revised in flight sim with the TDS, which meant that they were then very quick at making changes in a real flight. As obviously if you've got an instrument rating, you have to be, or testing is the wrong word, but you are obliged to, what would you call it? Is it relicensing? I don't know what the proper term is. So Mr. Bullseye saying, really cool to have the real thing. It's not the same waypoints and stuff being the real thing, right? It's not. No. The TDS, that's what I'm saying. Once the TDS had the Navigraph integration, it's got all of the most up-to-date information. So yeah, the TDS knocks the PMS completely out of the park. And it does things, all sorts of other things as well, like the arc mode view is massively better in the TDS. Also, you get the projected glide distance of your aeroplane, which is mapped onto the 3D landscape in real time. So at any time you can see what your glide distance is and things like that. Its terrain mode is much better, and yeah. But you're paying though for, a professional level piece of software rather than a freebie. Is this one worth buying? That's a really good question. If you love this sort of aeroplane, then I can't see a problem. I would say though at the moment, and I think Black Box will curse me for saying this, I wouldn't buy anything until the new flight sim is out, until everybody's begun updating their aeroplanes. And that might be why we haven't seen many aeroplanes come out recently. Because everybody's waiting, because there is, although 2020 will be supported for some time, and lots of people are saying, oh, I don't know if I'm going to upgrade. Everybody will upgrade. There will be an exodus of users from 2020 over to 2024, regardless of what people are saying. So I wouldn't buy anything for 2020 for the next month, because there really is no point. Having said that, people keep sending me freebies hoping I'll do reviews of them. Only little things usually. I have to go and buy the big planes, but it's always interesting that obviously there's a lot of development projects going on, and until the technical alpha appeared, the developers had nothing to go on. So I imagine that technical alpha has been a godsend for all of the aeroplane developers who will now be making new versions of their planes that use the new features in the new sim. So for us as consumers, it's going to be pretty good, once the new one arrives. And no doubt it'll be buggy, and I guess you have to remember the scale of development of this simulator just makes everything else around tiny. The amount of things it's doing with, the atmosphere simulation, just the trees. Any of you guys watching the live stream, have you seen the demonstration of seasons in the new sim? It's stunning. You kind of feel sorry for the people that have made the seasons add-ons or the shipping add-ons. I'm guessing Seafront Simulations are dead in the water at this point, because the new sim will track all the boats, and it will also do the same thing with the live aircraft. So it's using Flight Radar 24 and projecting live aeroplanes into the airspace. So we are about to fly over Semisopochnoi Semisopochnoi Island, is that? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Should we have a quick read about it? Otherwise known as Adak Island, which is an obsolete Russian term, is a part of the Rat Islands group in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. Island is uninhabited, provides an important nesting area for maritime birds. It's of volcanic origin. Well, I think all of the islands around here are, aren't they? Yeah, I'll leave the camera view facing that way. So, Semisopochnoi has no known native land mammals. Arctic foxes were introduced to the island during the 19th century for fur farming and removed in 1997. Most ground nesting bird species and most burrow nesting seabirds were extirpated by foxes. Never seen that word before. So the island is currently in the early stages of recovery. The island has remained free of Norway rats. So the large least and crested auklet colony near Sugarloaf Head is one of the largest among the 9 auklet colonies in the Aleutian Islands. There are well over 1 million seabirds here. Most of them are auklets and crested auklets. So this version of the BN2T that I'm flying here is the one that was updated last night. I got an update through in my email from the developer, because I bought this aeroplane. So I got an email through from them and did the update. So this is the latest build of this aeroplane. So yeah, there are, just for the purposes of people who are not familiar with these aeroplanes, so the Islanders have been around in the sim. Oh, we have some company, but obviously it's the wrong aeroplane type. But we'll have a look. So it's CJM845 in a DC6 apparently. But it's showing up because I've not got a DC6 installed, or it's a livery issue, maybe. I don't think I've got the DC6 installed at the moment, which is why it's showing up as something different. Yeah, the Islanders, there's several different variants. So the original Islander that Black Box came out with is used in south of the UK and the Channel Islands, and some of the Scottish islands use it as well in the real world. Made by Britten Norman. I think they built their offices, or sorry, their manufacturing plant is on the Isle of Wight, I think. So yeah, the Islander is this tiny little thing. It's a bit smaller than this one we've got here. This is the Defender, which is a defense version of it. So this is the airshow variant that doesn't have the military hardware on it. But there's versions of this with a huge radar on the nose. There's versions of it with the police with cameras on it. So if you come in, even though this is the airshow variant, you can turn on some of that hardware to have it appearing. So yeah, we can have a camera look on the nose or the side of the aeroplane. So if we go and stick it on the nose, you'll see the same sort of camera that the police use for surveillance, or that the military might use for reconnaissance. There's a recon pod as well that you can have in place of the drop tanks. There's a rescue pod for, I don't know why they would need the rescue pod. We'd have to go and read about it. So yeah, this is the Defender variant. The smaller variants of the Islander are very much for ferrying people between islands, and it's like almost like a school bus. So it's tiny inside. If you go and look around, it really is cramped. This version doesn't have rows of seats, but it has alternate doors on alternate sides to let people out. So there is no room to go down the middle of the aeroplane. People get in and out adjacent to their seats. So yeah, the Islander came out first a couple of years ago for Flight Simulator. Then the Trilander, which is similar format to this, but with a third engine in the tail, and that allowed it to operate from shorter airstrips. And it has the Trilander has this same wing design, which is slightly different to the original Islander. And then obviously this came out, the Defender came out after that, after the Islander and the Trilander. But the difference here is the Islander and the Trilander have got combustion engines. This has got turboprops. And there is a variant that comes with this. When you buy the BN2T, you also get the Islander with turboprops. As far as I'm aware, there is no Trilander with turboprops. So yeah, this is the turbine version. So when you get the turbine Islander, you not only get the Defender, you get the Islander as well, which is smaller. The cockpit is quite different between the two. It's similar but different. Yeah, there's quite a lot of differences. Only the Defender has the electronic instruments. The Islander and the Trilander both have analog instruments. It's worth saying, although Black Box, the finish on their graphics isn't maybe as high fidelity as some of the other developers, but the airplanes tend to work very well, and they feel great to fly. So yeah, particularly the Shorts aircraft that they've simulated. So Black Box make the Shorts 330 and 360 transport airplanes. And they are really, really wonderfully modelled. But again, they don't have quite the visual fidelity. Black Box also make an RAF trainer called a Bulldog, which was used right the way up until the 1980s, I think. Which is a little single-engine pattern aerobatic plane that was used, as if you were going up towards fast jets, you would start out. I think most RAF pilots started out on the Bulldog for probably 20-30 years. So yeah, the Bulldog in the simulator is very good. But anyway, yes, so this is the latest build of, or the latest build available of the turbine Islander. Right, so we're out across the ocean again. Our next stop will be, or next flyover I should say, will be Adak Island. We're going to go past Tanaga Island as well. So I'll leave that there for a bit. Just trying to get this in view. There we go. And I'll leave it running, and I'm going to go and take a break. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, should we have a check of the fuel, see how it's going? So we're down to 40 gallons in the drop tanks. We're still full. We're going to get there just on the drop tanks, aren't we? No, we're not quite halfway yet even. But we're going to have a lot of fuel left. So I'm just having a quick look. So we've got 40. We've got 100 gallons each side. So, and we are burning at 200 pounds an hour. Okay, I'm just going to do some quick working out. I've just got an idea. Let's ask Google Gemini if it can work it out. So if we have 100 US gallons of fuel in our aircraft, and we are burning fuel at, what did we say, 200 pounds an hour. How long can we fly for? Question mark. £670 or £200 an hour is 3.35 hours. So with 100 US gallons of fuel and a burn rate of £200 per hour, the aircraft can fly for approximately 3.35 hours. AI is scary, isn't it? It is so good at niche things like this, where I use it like this all the time at work for things that I'm going to do it myself, but I want to see an example of how it would have done it. And obviously, when you read the answer, you can see if it's got it wrong. But as a head start, AI is very clever, because essentially the big AI, what do they call them? The generative AI solutions, they work by having read everything. So in the same way that Google spiders the internet to allow you to search, AI doesn't just spider it, it reads everything and absorbs it all, or everything it has access to, and absorbs it all and interprets it. And now sometimes it interprets it wrong, but it's usually very, very good for technical things, so legal documents or technical instruction books, things like aircraft operating procedures. AI is fantastic at them. So if you ever are wondering in a simulator, what the correct procedure is with a real aircraft for a certain thing, as long as you write the sentence correctly into one of the big generative AI solutions, they will give you very detailed instructions, usually from the pilot operating handbook. You could actually ask it and say, what does it say in the pilot operating handbook about? And it will interpret it for you. So let's just ask it. So if I asked it, what steps are required to start a Britten Norman Islander, or I'll put the code number in, BN2T Islander, on a Defender. Let's give it the exact one. From cold and dark, question mark. And it's going to tell me, oh my word, it's done it. Got to do the external inspection, it's got a whole paragraph on that, cockpit preparation, battery power on, avionics initialization, for the PFD, MFD, engine start sequence, so fuel pumps, ignition, starter, throttle, post-start checks, engine instruments, hydraulics, electric, avionics. That's crazy, isn't it? Of course, the other thing you can do with the modern generative AI models is turn around after they give you an answer and say, where did you get that from? And they'll give you their references and you can go look at them yourself. So it's like having a high-speed assistant that has read everything, doesn't understand what it's seeing, but is able to parrot back condensed versions of things to you at extreme speed. Very clever. So these islands are completely covered in mist, aren't they? We're just approaching Tanaga Island, which will come up on our right, apparently. If we could see it. I can just see the peaks coming through the clouds ahead of us. So we're high enough to clear it, which is good. Right, go drink my drink. I'll be back soon. Okay, let's see what I can tell you about Tanaga Island, or Tanaga. I'm sure it's Tanaga, but well, I'm not entirely sure at all. So let's go and... Tanaga Island is an island in the western Andreoff Islands and the southwest part of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. The island has a land area of 204 square miles, making it the 33rd largest oceanic island in the United States. Just skimming through some of the information that's not so important. The last known eruption of Tanaga volcano occurred in 1914. Earlier eruptions were reported in 1763 to 1770, 1791 and 1829. Reports of the eruptions are vague, but deposits on the flanks of the volcano show the typical eruptions produced blocky lava flows and occasional ash clouds. It doesn't say anything about... So Tanaga Island was established as a Navy emergency landing field in July 1943 as an adjunct to the Adak Naval Operation Base. Seabees of Naval Construction Battalion 45 built a runway, small craft pier, mooring area, office and storage buildings, radio building, galley and mess facilities, disciplinary and 4 miles of gravel road in 1943 near Lash Bay in the southwest of the island. The site was abandoned in 1945. So they built it in 43 and abandoned it in 45. Oh my word. The control tower is still shown on nautical charts. So this remote island in the middle of the ocean still has the remains of the base built in 1943 on it. It'd be worth going and having a look around it when there's no snow on it, wouldn't it? To go and see what we can find. See if we can find the outline of the old runway. Okay, so next on our list will be Adak Island. Oh, yeah, so that's Tanaga Island. There's taken to have been one in the same then. So, unfortunately, we are completely clouded in. If we were to remove the weather, which I'm loath to do. I like flying with live weather because it produces its own challenges. But this is just this ocean underneath this weather system. Nothing else. I'm tempted to drop down. I'd have to be careful with the flight plan though. I'm tempted to drop down below the cloud base, so we get to see the islands, but I guess we'll see parts of them poking through. You can see there's a peak just coming. That's the peak on the corner of Tanaga Island. Tanaga Island versus Tanaga, sorry. I didn't even notice that earlier, I'm getting worse. So we can see the peak coming, so let's go and read about Tanaga Island. So that was Tanaga that we just passed over. And there is nothing to say about it. There's not really anything on Wikipedia about it. The island's most notable feature is Mount Tanaga, a 4,288 feet tall volcano which last erupted in 1995. So that'll be the peak that we can see pointing through the clouds. There's a lesser peak just coming as well. It's directly under our flight path. So if we go and have a look here, there's the peak we can see here. Or it might be this one. There's a Boroff Island that isn't even on the chart as well. Or maybe that is Boroff then. I wonder why it's not on the chart. We found a proper King Kong kind of island then. It's in the simulator but not on the chart. I wonder if Navigraph has got it. Let's go and open Navigraph up. When Navigraph decides to open, and we'll go to VFR, and there's us. There's Boroff, there it is. So that's the one we can see poking through the clouds down here. Whoa, that is properly remote then, isn't it? There's a beach. You wouldn't want to be stranded there, would you? Especially being this far north. It's going to be snowing half the year. It's cloaked in clouds. It's a beach along the back end of the island. Interesting. Then out ahead of us is the volcano. Of Adak. No, Tanaga, sorry. So let's go and find out about Tanaga. It's part of the Andrianov Islands. Yeah, we already read about this, didn't we? So that is really the only feature on the island, is Mount Tanaga. So we are approaching, after this, Adak Island. So let's go and find out what we can about Adak Island. So Adaks is the Russian. It means Father Island. Alaska's southernmost city, Adak, is located on the island. We're going to fly right over the top of it. Oh, we can finally see something here. Let's get the map out of the way. So this is Tanaga. Land is, or the cloud is just breaking as we come over the island. Very cool. Okay, so next up will be Adak Island. Let's go and finish reading about it. Due to harsh winds, frequent cloud cover and cold temperatures, vegetation is mostly tundra on Adak Island at lower elevations. The highest point is Mount Moffat near the northwest end of the island, an elevation of 3,924 feet. So that'll be not far from where we're crossing it. So Adak Island has been the home of the Aleut peoples since antiquity. Russian explorers in the 18th century also visited the island but made no permanent settlements. During World War II, the Imperial Japanese Army took control of two of the westmost Aleutian islands, Attu and Kiska, in the incorporated territory of Alaska. The first foreign enemy to occupy American soil since the war in 1812. We read that earlier, didn't we? On the 11th of May 1943, American soldiers landed on Attu Island and defeated the Japanese garrison there. I'm just reading, skimming through the information. What does this have to do with Attu? Someone's written this pretty poorly. After the war was over, approximately 6,000 American military men who served on Adak during World War II recalled Adak's cold, foggy, windy weather, mud, Quonset huts, and few women and no trees. And a volcano from time to time would issue puffs of smoke. Fresh food was a rarity on Adak Island. We're just about to approach it. You can see it through the clouds here and there. Adak Naval Air Station continued to be a military base during the Cold War, but was designated a base realignment and closure site in 1995 and closed in 1997. Shortly thereafter, the town of Adak was incorporated at the site of the former base. Down from a peak population of 6,000, the island recorded a 2010 census population of 326 residents, all in the city of Adak, in the northern part of the island. In 1980, the Aleutian Islands National Wildlife Refuge was created, and much of Adak Island lies within its boundaries. Let's go and zoom in on this then. So there's Adak Airport. So yeah, the entire population then live on this one headland that we're going to pass over the top of, just to the east of the airfield. So the town really grew from where the airport used to be. That's now been decommissioned, obviously, but it's in the simulator. You can go land there. If we go and look straight down, oh, we're not going to see it because of the cloud today, are we? It's going to remain a mystery to us unless we manage to peek through the holes in the cloud here and there. Then there's an absolute wall of cloud coming up. So you'll just have to trust me that beneath the cloud, let's go and do this just out of interest. We'll go live and off. Oh, look, there we go. And the autopilot's just had a fit. And those... It's very pretty, isn't it? Obviously, it never looks like this, though, because the weather is so vicious here. You would never get the weather like this here. So that is the entire settlement now. It's just this little bit, 300 and something people. There were 6,000 people here once upon a time. It's properly remote, isn't it? And pretty horrific. So Helder's asking, can you fly with me? Today you can. I'm on the Southeast Asia server and you can know exactly where I am. I'm just flying over the top of Adak Island heading east along the island chain. So there is the entire inhabitant, or the entire settlement of the island down here. See each of their houses in the simulator, which is slightly crazy, isn't it, that you can do that. The landscape looks amazing though. Okay, let's put the live weather back on. Goodbye beneath the clouds. What to keep an eye on that outside air temperature. It's bubbling around 0, isn't it? And we are almost in the cloud layer. It's getting a bit dodgy. So, leaving Adak behind, we're off to Atka. Let's go and see. Oh, I hadn't finished reading about Adak, had I? Because of the naval aviation past, Adak has an unusually large and sophisticated airport for the Aleutian Islands. The Adak Airport is operated by the State of Alaska Department of Transportation. Adak Airport has a control tower and instrument landing system and 2 runways. Both runways are asphalt paved. Alaska Airlines operates twice weekly Boeing 737-800 passenger and cargo jet services from Anchorage. Interesting. Okay, so we're en route to Atka next. Is the largest island in the Navigraph Islands. It's 50 miles east of Adak Island. 65 miles long, 20 miles wide. In the 2000 census, the population of the island of Atka was 95 persons. All of them, or almost all of them, in the city of Atka. On December the 5th, 2008, President George W. Bush created the World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument. A crashed B-24 Liberator on Atka is one of the 9 sites included in the monument. As of July 2021, Atka is having a new modular medical clinic and quarantine shelter with a morgue being erected. This is through grants of the USDA and other parties such as the Native Corps, AHTNA and Whitley Manufacturing to serve the tribe. It's interesting, isn't it? Such a remote place still gets quite a lot of support. Only 95 people live here at Atka. If you zoom in, so where's the actual... So Atka is here. That's where the 95 people live. And then we're on our way past that over to Nikolski, which is where we're finishing up today. It's a 200-mile jump from Atka to Nikolski. which begs the question, how much fuel have we got left? So Matey's asking how much I like the new Islander. It's great. All of the black box aeroplanes fly wonderfully. So yeah, there's never been a question about that really. And the developer behind the black box aeroplanes is really great as well. He will answer all questions, and yeah, he's been very supportive when I've written procedures up and he's spotted things that were maybe not quite correct. He's gone and let me know, which is really appreciated. One of the funniest things about the Islanders, when I first featured them on the YouTube channel when they first came out, I had, and the same with the shorts actually, had several real-world retired pilots get in touch with me via email telling me stories about flying them in the real world. I think still my favourite story was some shorts pilots who used to do the shorts aircraft, like the 330 and 360, were kind of famous for doing like mail runs and stuff like that in between, you know, secluded or distant communities. And had a pilot write me an email, and they said the big problem with doing those mail runs, you know, like early hours of the morning, taking the post out to some island and picking up and all the rest of it, the big problem is sleep, of the pilot or the co-pilot falling asleep, because they've literally got no communication for several hours. You've got the drone of the engines, and yeah, you're trying to keep yourself busy with checking the aircraft over, but you're doing the same flight day in, day out. And they would play tricks on each other to keep each other awake. And if you noticed that either the pilot or the co-pilot had started to get drowsy, the favourite trick apparently with one of the shorts with this particular crew who emailed me would be to pull the fire test to make the fire test go off with the clacks on and the lights coming on, and at the same, so pull that on one of the engines and kick the rudder at the same moment to make it look like the engine had died and the aeroplane was corkscrewing in that direction. And they said that was the best way of being woken up ever, because yeah, you were wide awake as well as cursing the other pilot when you realised it was a joke and wasn't really a massive malfunction. Okay, let's have a look. So there's obviously part of this island chain. We're going to see islands dotted around for the next little while. So if I move this view around slightly, you've got more chance of seeing them. And the weather is clearing slightly at the moment. I don't think it will stay this clear for very long, but we'll see. So we can see out to the end of our journey now. I wonder, can we fit both of us in? Not quite. Do it there. Yeah, LittleNavMap is very, very useful. Just reading the live stream comment there from GamerGeek91. LittleNavMap is very, very useful. It's a shame because Navigraph could do the same thing but they put lots of furniture in the way of you doing it. So we could almost do the same thing. So within here, if we did flights, new flight, put the text route in, we should still have it in the clipboard. Yeah, we have. So if we try and do the same thing, and we collapse things down, it still takes up a lot of screen real estate. Oh, it is pretty good though, isn't it? But it doesn't have place names on it, so obviously. I guess if we went from VFR over to World, it might. Again, you can't see that until we make the window bigger. And no, there's no place names. Look. If this had a better rendering, it's using Mapbox, isn't it? Yeah. If it had better rendering of the place names, it would be quite useful. So if we put it over the same area that we're using there. I don't think you quite get as many options around what you want to hide or show. And you don't get the amount of information along the lines, like the bearings and the distances. Why does Navigraph charts not work in FSX? Does it not? It should. Navigraph uses a small utility that runs in the background called SimLink, and that picks up your position using SimConnect. So if it's not working, I'm only speculating, but if it's not working, it was probably a SimConnect issue, because FSX used SimConnect. So Jim said, can you copy the text route out of LittleNavMap? Yeah, that's what I just did. If you go to flight plan, you can copy the route. Yeah. And what that gives you, if we just open Notepad and go to a new tab, it gives you that. Now that part at the front is your airspeed and altitude that you've got, but we can get rid of that typically. And that will just give you, obviously, departure, destination, and intermediate waypoints. Okay, so we're coming up to Atka. Which we've already read almost everything on the Wikipedia page about. So there's not a lot to share really, other than only 95 people live here. So what I'm going to do is put this up in the corner now. And leave it like that for the rest of the trip. So I'm going to go and have a break. I'll turn my microphone off, but when we get closer to our destination I will turn it back on, because it's a long stretch now over the ocean. Before we do get over the ocean, should we just go and check how those fuel tanks are going to work? So we're down to 30 gallons on each side. We've got 60 gallons internally. I don't think we have to switch over tanks. So at 90 gallons on each side of the aeroplane, which will keep us going for a long time. 3 hours basically. But we should get to our destination far more quickly than that. 200 nautical miles away. We're doing 180 or 200 ground speed. We've got a massive tailwind, 35 knot tailwind. So our ground speed's 200 knots, so we're going to get there in an hour. It's pretty cool. So, well, oh, slightly over an hour though, because we've got, how far's that leg there? Can't see the numbers, can we? So, got about 50 to go. So 250, so hour and a quarter to get to our destination, based on our current ground speed. Right, I'm going to take a break and I'll be back later on. I'm just getting a bit nervous about icing. Because we're just above 0. I'm hoping that going through the clouds is not going to freeze us. I think we'll be okay. Yeah, this is, I'm not comfortable about this at all. I wonder, do we climb or do we get below the cloud level and start island dodging? We're going to be over the ocean soon, so we could descend. Let's just turn the anti-ice on for the moment. Just put it on low. It's a shame the internal heating isn't modelled. So obviously with the anti-ice on, we don't need to worry anymore. Well, we still do, but not as much. It's a nice looking aeroplane, isn't it? It's the moon. Pretty rugged down there, isn't it? So we'll just carry on as we are for the moment with the icing, anti-ice on, I should say. So we're on that 200-mile stretch now. So we're doing 206 knots, so about an hour to the destination. I just want to see, these cloud banks look pretty consistent. This is where Navigraph comes into its own, of course, because we can go and have a look and see what that's looking like along the way. So we'll go and open the, it's in here, isn't it, weather. And we want to see on the layers the cloud cover at 7.5 or 7,000. So it's pretty solid all the way. It's not showing rain anywhere, so there's not real much moisture out there. Right, I think we're clear of it for the next little while. So let's go and turn the icing back off. And we'll see how we get on. Right. I'm going to go and stretch my legs and I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm just answering a question on the live stream chat. So GamerGeek91 is asking, what is SimConnect? It is a DLL that runs as part of the simulator. Flight Sim, or FSX had it. Earlier versions of Flight Sim had it. The current version of Flight Sim still has it. It's what communicates your aircraft information to external. It's an API, an application programming interface. So it allows other external applications to talk to the simulator, and amongst that it can find out where you are and the properties of the aeroplane. It can also inject into the simulator via the same route. So yeah, SimConnect is the API for Flight Simulator essentially, and it's been modified slightly over the years, but it's essentially still the same, which is why programs like LittleNavMap can still use it. So yeah, so they should work with the older versions. I say that, I haven't actually checked. But yeah, SimConnect is not something you should have to install yourself, but it may be worth looking in the support documentation of something like LittleNavMap, or doing a Google search for how to install SimConnect into FSX, for example. There used to be various different versions of it years ago, because I remember P3D had its own version, I seem to remember. But they are interoperable with each other. But I haven't seen P3D around in the wild for a very, very long time, certainly not the last 3 or 4 years. Okay, we're on this run in towards our destination. It'll be another 40 minutes or so before we need to do anything, so I'm going to vanish for a bit and I'll be back a bit later on. Okay, as you can see, we are approaching this mountain, which I think is higher than our flight level. And it's probably just my sort of luck that we are on a collision course with it. And hidden in the hills over here are several other mountains, or hidden in the clouds, sorry, are several other mountains, similar altitudes. So what I'm inclined to do is just deviate from our course for a little while, and we'll go back to heading mode. So, to begin with, we'll go and press in the heading track button. We'll go heading mode, and we'll start turning, and we'll put ourselves on a course to drop past. Well, actually we could go through the middle, couldn't we? That might be quite spectacular. Yeah, let's do that. And I think we'll start descending. We'll do the approach to the final part of our journey at lower altitude. So we'll go and spin through the altitude here, bring it down to say 2,500 feet, or 3,000 feet maybe. Go for 2,500. Hopefully that will be below the cloud base. And we'll go vertical speed. We could go indicated airspeed mode to get there. Yeah, let's go vertical speed mode. And come off the power. That's 600 feet per minute so far. 1,000 feet per minute. Hopefully we can get below the cloud base before we get too near the clouds. We'll pick our route judiciously. So let's put the head tracking on and have a look around. It's a sizable caldera, isn't it? There's a lake in it as well. Or a tarn, as they would call it in the north of England. Should we scoot over to the passenger side? Or co-pilot side, I should say. Okay, I'm just going to take us out around this cloud. Ah. How are we doing for fuel? So we are still not touching our internal fuel tanks. We're still on the drop tanks. It's funny, isn't it? We're going to get almost to the destination without touching the fuel we had in our main fuel tanks. So then we can go and give ourselves a left turn. Down to 4,500 feet and still descending. can see the islands there. If we zoom out a little bit, not far to go until our destination now. I think this cloud might almost be down to sea level, you know. Coming down to 3.5. We've only got another 1,000 feet to go and we're going to be in that cloud, which maybe this wasn't the wisest idea. Just below zero. I'm going to go and put the heating on. Did I turn? No, that was on already. No, that was off. Oh my word. So I wonder if I've still got a working airspeed meter. We don't need the inspection lights. So let's keep an eye on the vertical speed. It should come out at 2,500 feet. It's flashing. And here it comes. Yeah, we're still in that icy cloud, which is not great. Let's go and open the throttle back up. How are we doing? Fuel looks fine. So we got another, what was it, 30 miles to go across the ocean. So yeah, I might take us back up to 10,000 feet, you know. This is not fun down here, is it? So we're watching the number up here and spinning the altitude pre-selector. And we'll see what sort of climb rate we can get out of this turbine islander. We'll go up to 7.5 again, and we'll go vertical speed mode to get. Actually, no, let's go indicated airspeed mode. So then this will manipulate the airspeed. So we'll say we want to be climbing. We'll go open the power up. We'll hold it just inside the limit on the torque, and yeah, we'll say target 135-ish knots, and let's see how quickly this will climb. So at the moment it's climbing at about 1,000 feet a minute. It's not bad going, is it? Holding at about 135 knots. Coming back up through 4,000. Not much to see out of the aeroplane at the moment. So we can start to think about our approach into our destination. So Nikolski Airport. There is the option of going a little bit further up the coast for a better airport. There's one at Padu. Just zoom in, you get to see it. in Alaska, or Unalaska, not sure how you pronounce that, Dutch harbour. But I think that would make more sense to do as part of the route once we go and fly along this chain for a future flight. Go up towards Ted Stevens and go and visit Kodiak on the way, maybe. Okay, let's go and turn our heading back towards the direction we want to be going. So if we go 60 degrees. Coming up through 5,500 feet. We're above the majority of the weather now. So the ice inspection, the de-ice can come back off. We'll let the aeroplane make its way back up to 7,500. We're at 6,000 already. Coming up through 7. Going a little bit fast. I'm just going to come back off the power. So we are approaching the mainland fairly quickly. Let's have a look on the map, see how we are doing. So if we go and make this bigger now. So there's Nikolski, and the mountain is behind it. So it's over here somewhere, just on the inlet here. So what we'll do is come off the autopilot now. And drop back down through the cloud. So let's go and head tracking on. Give the wings a wiggle. We're in control. And we'll go and circle Nikolski. So what's the wind doing on the ground down here? 0 knots. It's absolutely still on the ground. Whether that's accurate is another question. That could just mean that the the temperature, or sorry, the wind meter has frozen solid. Who knows? So let's just see. So we're approaching at a slight angle to the runway. That can't be the runway, can it? See if we can drop down through this gap in the clouds. So just reading the comments there from Mr. Bullseye about his own round the world trip. Yeah, if you go out, you know, into random directions and go and look at the world, you find some incredible places. And usually with live weather on, you'll happen upon some of the most spectacular weather sometimes as well. So it looks like we're going to be a little bit lucky with the weather at the airport here. Look, the cloud bank is just off to the side of it. So yeah, we can see the airport down there. That's our destination for today. We are almost done. Let's go and zoom in on our map. So we're just descending. There apparently is no wind down here. Whether I believe that is another question. There's 24 knots where we are at 5,000 feet, but according to the NOAA, there's 0 knots on the ground. So that cloud is just sweeping across the runway now, look. So we may end up going into it. I've got the anti-ice switched on. So we're just going to circle the airfield as we descend. And obviously it'll be a visual landing. It's fairly straightforward though, because there's no hills in the way of the airstrip. So you get a straightforward run in, although you skim the hillside on the easterly approach over there. There's the beacon flashing away halfway down the runway. So it would make sense for us to drop in over that lake, wouldn't it? Need to lose some airspeed somehow. Still dropping, we're at 3,500 feet. So we may have to fly out over this bay and then turn back and see what we can do. We're still doing 160, 170 knots. guess I could get the speed down and then descend. So I'm just bleeding off some of that speed, enough to get the flaps and gear down. Also, gear's already down, of course, it's a fixed gear aircraft. Okay, let's just turn across the face of this wall of cloud. Wonder if we can get it to side slip its way down fairly steeply. No, I'll go for one more rotation. I think the wind is coming this way though. Sorry, not the cloud. It's going to obscure us more and more. It's getting worse, isn't it? We are going to be in here in the nick of time by the look of it. That's the runway. The weather is definitely coming this way. Still too high. So we have to circle again. Well, we would just fly a pattern over the airfield and see how we get on. So let's go and correct our barometric pressure for the local, and it hasn't really changed. It's still horrific. Let's just circle round. First stage of flaps. There's the runway. See, it said zero wind, but we have got a headwind. Look, so the NOAA data was wrong. Okay. get this approach wrong, you're going straight in the drain, can't you? Oh, beautiful place. Oh, did he want us over there? Party piece. Whoops, just hit the brakes a bit too hard there. I'm trying. May you mind up. Okay, so parking brake on. That's interesting, that's what I was saying off again, but yeah, I guess that was correct. Yeah, because we disconnected it, didn't we, earlier on. Do we need to do anything with the rest of the aeroplane? Probably not. There we go. We survived. Welcome to, now let me get the name of this right, Nikolski. So we did a couple of circles, then one more circle, and came straight in. So we can go and end the flight, and we can review it. So we can see that one there now. That's interesting that it's not taking us to the right place in the world for it. Interesting. It knows it's over here, look, but it didn't center it. And there's our roller coaster descent. Very cool. Part of the reason I had trouble descending is the throttles aren't mapped correctly. So it still had a small amount of power when it should have been at idle. Obviously I can go and correct that, but probably need to make a control profile specifically for this aeroplane that maps correctly to it. Okay, there we go. So that's the end of Flight 17 of the round the world trip. And I guess the next one will be island hopping all the way along here with a suitable GA aeroplane that can handle the cold. Going up towards Ted Stevens probably. So it's about another 700 miles up to Ted Stevens. And then up to, so it's it. Oh, sorry, no, that's King Salmon there. So I guess we go to Kodiak next. And then, yeah, so Ted Stevens is up in Anchorage, isn't it? But yeah, it should be good fun. And then we'll work our way down. So maybe Anchorage down to Juneau. And then start cutting across. Maybe we go Vancouver. And then start cutting across the States to make our way. So we'll just dip across the US, across the north of the US, because then eventually we're going to come back out through Newfoundland, Greenland, Iceland, back towards home, which is obviously quite a few legs away yet. So it's probably going to take about 30 legs, I would imagine, all in. We've gone a long way there. We've gone all the way down through Eastern Europe, down through Turkey. We went through Iran. We went through India. We went down through Oman, didn't we? Well, so not Oman. We landed in the UAE. we went through India and Bangladesh. I'm trying to remember what route we took across here. We went straight across, didn't we? We ended up on the coast of... We went to Hong Kong, didn't we? That was it. Then over to Taipei. Then we jumped across to the western coast of Japan. And then we traveled the length of Japan. We ended up on the northeastern coast of Sapporo. And then we did a huge leap across to get to Atu Station. And now we've done this one. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Seeing the world through the eyes of the simulator. It's great. Of course, when the new sim comes out, we'll all be doing it again. Anyway, see you all soon. Take care.